Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Seller Club podcast. My name is Ken, together with Anna and Glen here tonight. We are going to be discussing one of my most favorite topic of all time. It will be something about mindset, the level up mindset. So buckle up, get ready, get your snacks, relax, and let's get this going. Yo, what's up? Anna,
Hustle
say hi.
B.
Glen.
Hi.
Get your popcorn ready. That's what you're gonna say. Get your snacks.
Get your
Popcorn
Takis ready.
Yeah, get your Takis.
Get your white cheddar Cheez-Its ready.
All right. Before we dive in deeper, go-to
snacks.
snack. Go-to snacks. What's your go-to snacks? Start with Anna.
Well, I just gave mine away. White cheddar Cheez-Its.
Toasted? No,
I don't
that's
think
the regular
so.
one. There's
Just
the
regular.
toasted ones. Have you
Oh,
had
no,
the toasted
they're
ones?
just regular.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What
Mine's
about
just
you,
like
Glenn?
peanut butter and jelly, anything. Like, I know that's really like a snack,
Ooh.
but just like, you can have peanut butter jelly on bread. You can have peanut butter jelly on a rice cake. Peanut butter and jelly on blueberry vegan waffle. Just anything. Peanut butter and
Okay,
jelly.
peanut butter. I mean, it's you got fruit and you got some
No,
protein,
yeah.
right?
There we go.
Mine would be chocolate.
Just chocolate.
I'm a big chocolate guy. Reese cup. What else? It's actually
Snickers.
So I'm the only savory person here?
Reese's
Reese
sticks. Kit Kats.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
man.
Cadbury
Cadbury.
chocolate. Bueno. Have you had this?
No. Well, I can't have any of
Ken.
that, but
I can't have any of it either.
Oh, Anna's allergic to chocolate, Glenn.
what? All right, tell us about that
Yes.
before we start. Of course.
Yeah, before we start. What happens? Like, is it like
How did
like
you
a
know?
peanut allergy? Oh, yeah, that's
Okay, so it started when I was 12. So I know how good chocolate is because I ate it for the first 12 years of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, but so basically I started getting really violently ill when I would eat it. That happened like probably twice, and then I was like, okay, well that's a problem, and I just avoided it from that point. But
Like stomach, like puking, or
I don't
like
really want to discuss
No.
it personally,
Okay.
like on a radio show.
Okay.
But yeah, it was not pleasant. It wasn't like anaphylaxis. It wasn't like
it's
my
not- it's
throat
like-
closing.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it was like, yeah, definitely digestive plus, I would say.
Okay.
But in the future, so after years of not eating chocolate, I did have a couple of really random occasions where it got on my skin a lot. Like, I'll give you one example. When I was a senior in high school, I was getting my eyebrows waxed. And the lady waxing my eyebrows said, oh, if you smell something delicious, like it's our holiday chocolate infused like wax or whatever. And I was like,
What?
might want to go ahead and take that off of my face because I'm allergic to it. And she panicked a little bit when I said that. And instead of just immediately taking it off, which is pretty much what you do anyway when you're waxing something, she went and got her manager and they like talked about it for a minute. And then eventually she did take it off. But my whole face got swollen after that
man.
happened. And I remember having to like pack like cold cream onto my face when I went to bed at night and just like hoped that it wouldn't be swollen in the morning. And it was like fine by the morning. But so that was really bizarre too, because I thought, okay, yeah, like I have an intolerance. I can't eat it. It makes me sick or whatever. But then that time when it was like, being burned onto my face with eyebrow wax, it like made my entire face swell up. So there's obviously something else going on there. But that being said, my husband loves chocolate. And so like during COVID, I actually learned how to make really awesome brownies from scratch. And like if I, get some on my hand or something while I'm making brownies, like it's not a big deal. But anyway, yeah, I really just don't eat it. And I assume that I still can't. And I don't want to try.
Man.
Yeah. So
what
more
a
for you.
sad
More for
life.
you.
Like more
I
for
know.
me, more for John, your husband.
Yeah, more for John. John's thrilled about it. Yeah.
So
Well, for me, I'm
well,
just
guys,
not
that was-
having the dairy. So
Yeah, milk
You can't have
chocolate,
it
right?
there. What about dark? You can
yeah,
have
you can have
dark
dark
chocolate.
though. Yeah.
Ah, I like
Yeah.
dark chocolate.
Okay.
too. I like
No
dark
discrimination against any chocolates here. B is just open to
Yeah.
any
No.
and all.
Yeah, like
He's
yeah,
just
I'm
basically
allergic.
Willy Wonka.
Yeah, especially the ones with the cookie
Yeah,
crunch.
I'm allergic to not having
Oh,
chocolate.
okay. That makes sense.
Peas in a pod.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I
Peas
get
in a
I
pod.
get really sad. It messes with my digestive system because it's not used to not having it.
Right.
Like,
But does it mess with
yeah,
your
I would get
mindset?
head. Oh,
That's what we're gonna find out.
okay. That is
Right.
a good topic to it.
So, Ken,
Um,
you thought we were gonna talk about the level up mindset, but actually we're doing an in vivo experiment whereby
Mm-hmm.
we keep you from eating chocolate and see what the effects are on your mindset. So
Well-
hope you're
Starting
ready
today.
for that.
Well, here's the thing. That's level down. Not having chocolate is level down mindset.
You're right.
So
Maybe let's
you
go
know.
back to plan A then and just
okay, yeah,
talk
yeah,
about the
yeah,
level
yeah.
up
You
mindset.
can't ambush me now because I have every excuse of any backed up data that chocolate is good for yourself.
Well, plus I really want to hear about the level up mindset. So
Let's
do you
do
want to
that.
tell
Let's
us
do that.
what that's going to
Yeah,
be
tell
about?
us, Ken. What? This is
Okay,
level
okay,
up
okay,
mindset
okay,
comes
okay,
from
okay.
Kenny first
Level.
and
All
foremost.
right. Okay, so put it this way. Glenn has this go out and get it
Tagline.
tagline, right? That's his tagline every time we end a video or his YouTube. It's like, hey, see you in the next episode. Go and get it. And I was like, what's mine? What's mine? And actually, Glenn helped me. Discover it when I, it's like, what's mine? And I said level up. That was the thing, level up. It's because of my journey, moving here 10 years ago, coming from the Philippines, to just actually finding, a bigger and better thing to do, or a challenge, or trying to just accomplish something that I haven't. And over time, it was just okay, level up mindset. And then now, the tagline that I use, actually never settle. You just don't settle in just, being good. You got to be great. So I think if we could go back in time, I think the reason why I am that way, or I've thought about that, because growing up, my mom always pushed me to become better. She always had a different standard, even academically. In the Philippines, passing grade was 75%. And she said, that's average passing grade. Your passing grade will be 85. So my mom has set the standard of that level up. You're not just gonna, passing is not 75 for you, son. It's gonna be 85. And after that, it was just kind of I hated it first, because everybody in the class is they're not trying, and then they can get 75. And then me, I have to try to just pass in front of my mom. So that was the standard. And then I just pretty much, eventually I realized that, wait, that was a good training, because now I'm getting more grades. It only sucked a little bit in the beginning because I was just a stubborn kid. And then after that, just adapting it and actually just learning it more, I just became used to it. So now I challenge everybody around me. If you're trying to learn something and be better, you just have to, have a level up mindset and never settle. So that's where it came from.
Yeah, I love that she gave you that challenge, because it's here's what it's like. She just gave you practice, built-in practice for here's what it's like when you do more than the bare minimum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And man, that probably does carry into everything that you do in a way. So, it's there's two sides of every coin. There's two usually unproductive ends of every spectrum, and it's not trying hard enough or being perfectionistic both create problems, but shooting for consistently shooting for above average is like a really healthy way of looking at it. So this is the second story I've heard about your mom that compels me to be like, man, you had such a great mom. I love
No,
that.
my mom's really strict. She whipped me up to shape for sure.
So, okay. So that's sort of the honest, you come by it honestly, like the humble beginnings of the level up mindset. But this is also something that you have really specifically applied to your business, obviously. And I know like Glen has a piece of this too, and you guys have taught other people about this. So I want to hear from you also, Glen. Like, so what does it kind of mean to you, and where do you come into contact with level up?
Well, I guess with like level up is always, you're constantly learning something and you're trying to see what that next stage is. And so when, I guess for me, man, it's hard to explain because with Ken, we would have this conversation on going, I don't know if we'd already talk about that or not, but going to like a restaurant when we were at Out Hustled and him busting out with these random questions as far as like what excites you in life, and asking our waitress that, you know, what excites you in your life right now, and them not being able to answer it was like kind of stunning too in a way, because I was kind of like,
Yeah.
number one, who asks you that?
Why are we all crying in this Chili's
Yeah.
right now?
And then number two, it makes you really think, what does excite me right now? And then...
Yeah, it's very challenging.
And
yeah.
even when I don't remember if he directly asked me that first, because I think he asked them that first, but it made me think about what excited me at that point. But when I thought about it, I thought about the stages, I guess, in my life and what did excite me over time and how I did level up in a certain way. Because I remember, I guess, wanting to level up, like being in college, and like, of course, your main goal is like, well, I want to graduate. I want to get my degree. So for you, being in college, your leveling up would be, graduating. All right, cool. There's your next stage. And then it's like, I got to get a full-time job, or I got to see what my career is. What is that level up? And so, I got that. There we go. Full-time job, career job. And then I remember being like, what excites me during this time is getting off of work and working on my eBay business. So now it completely changed on what excited me, and wasn't even what my career was, what I went to school for. It was something that was totally outside of that. And now there's like a new passion growing on the side that I look forward to, and that excited me. And so I feel like every level and every stage there's been a different thing that excites me, and a passion there that I can always learn more and build upon and just keep growing from there. So that's my answer for now, but I know we're going to dig deep into different things there. But what about the psychology point of view, which we need to get that in there as well?
Well, actually, I have a perfect question to address that. So I think it's fascinating. I'm like such a language person. I love language and I'm fascinated by it. But I'm really curious, Ken. So you, obviously, you're Mr. Wing It and you just will spontaneously ask questions. But I'm really curious about that question that, you asked the waitress, and Glen found himself asking himself, like, what excites you, and why is that the North Star in this situation? Like, because a lot of things are exciting. Right. But I know you mean that on like maybe a more existential level, or like a more fundamental level. Like, why should we be assessing and, taking note of what it is that excites us right now? Like, what do you think that's really telling us about ourselves?
Yeah, I think it's more of like, I think in the Western kind of like talk, being from the Philippines, when you come here, you have that conversation of like, how are you doing, right?
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, right? Like kind of those like very like
Surface.
surface level question, and we never answer it honestly. That was
Yeah.
my biggest thing, and it's
Right.
like
We answer it politely and not
politely
honestly. Yeah.
and more like I don't want to deal with this right now, right? Because like
Yeah.
even when you're down, when you know, in my mind, when somebody asks you like how are you doing, and if you're not doing well, you actually open up to that person because the person cares enough.
Yeah.
So I think you talk about language. I say like okay, like it doesn't mean that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with something instead of like okay, what excites you about your life right now? It's more of like what are you passionate about right now? And I say that right now part on the end because people evolve, things change, situations change. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So that's one of the things that I kind of like rephrase that I care for you as a human or just a random stranger, but let this be like a wake up call of like if you're not excited about what you're doing in life right now, don't waste your life and find
Yeah.
something to be excited about because one of the things I've learned from moving here in America, there's a million things you can be very passionate about and there's so many things you can get into and there's not it's the barrier of entry is very easy and light that you can learn any skill on YouTube. Hence the I learned reselling and hustling from Glen's Hustler Hacks YouTube channel. And like that for me was like so crazy. So and then for a point in time that I was super passionate about business and about growing e-commerce and stuff like that. So I think, hopefully that answer suffice.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting how the question really becomes an invitation for the person you're asking to reflect on their life for a minute and like check in with themselves, take stock of that because also what excites you right now, like, yeah, maybe it does change. I mean, it should change really to some extent. Like, obviously we would expect that to change as we're growing and developing and, going through different phases of our lives. And, maybe I think this is the case for a lot of people, Glenn, me too, that like, oh, the thing that I thought was going to be my career for like my whole working life ended up not being. And, I still like love psychology. Obviously, we're talking about some psychology related stuff right now, and I love it. But, that doesn't mean that it's the thing that I'm most excited about just on repeat for the rest of my life. Like, that's not how humans are, And I mean, that's not to say that some people don't have something that they're so entrenched in and so interested in that they do have a long, fulfilling career. Like, obviously, that's totally an option. But, yeah, it's just like, even with that, sometimes there is something else, like you said, kind of blossoming in the background or on the side or in some other little nook or cranny of your life that like maybe it deserves some attention and deserves a chance, to like grow into something. And I love it. I think it's a really great question.
Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, like as a therapist, I love that question.
And I don't think this question is just a question. There was nothing there
Yeah.
that made
Yeah.
or that was supposed to make, let's say, the waitress feel like I'm not doing something right with my life.
Yes.
It was just like, well, it's
Right.
it's your call, it's your answer. It could be anything.
Totally.
And
You bring the meaning
Yeah.
to the question with your answer.
because
Yeah.
what if the answer was nothing to do with career? Like, what if the
Correct.
answer
Right.
was, I'm most excited about going to the mall on Saturday? Then you'd have been like, okay.
Yeah.
Or, I'm most excited for Sunday because football's on.
Right.
You could have been like,
Yeah.
or you got a vacation
yeah.
coming up.
You could have been
right?
like,
Yeah.
okay,
an
football.
event.
Like, some people might say, really? Some people might have been like, why? The answer could have been like, because my parents are divorced and that's the only time I get to bond with my dad. Now they completely changed of
Totally.
why you're looking forward to Sunday football.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it's relational.
Exactly. Or bonding time or spending time with someone or that matters to you.
Or like other parts of our identity. I mean, like one quick example, I have literally right now, I just learned a new music notation software so I can like write my own sheet music like in more easily than what I could do before. And like I have a piece of choral music that I wrote a couple years ago that I like cannot wait to sit down and notate with this new program, because that's like, and a piece of art that I created that has never really been able to see the light of day fully. And like, now I can do that at some point, and I like have to make time to do it, obviously. But if you asked me that question and I was your waitress, that's probably what I would have said. Like, not on a huge existential level, but just like, this is a part of myself that really counts and is really important to me and that I like love engaging with. And, I have this little opportunity with this new software to like dig into it and like live in that part of myself for a while, and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
It's just like one little nerdy example, but it could really be like anything. Like you said, it's almost like a projective test.
Right.
And then, so I guess at one point, now we kind of shifted a little bit. So at what point does leveling up stop? Or like, how do you stop yourself from continually leveling up? I don't even know if I said that right, but because let's say like you're sourcing a lot, or you're listing a lot, you're constantly thinking about, let's say, the eBay side of things or your business side of things. How do you shut it off, and are you content with yourself on not doing more? Like, like Ken said, maybe his mom like 85, instead of 75. Did you do a 75 type of day today? Can you be doing 85? Should you be doing 85? And is it okay to not do 85 if you've already felt like you've done more?
Yeah, I think that is a good question, to the fact that this year we've discussed it, in a previous episode, and I've been very open about it, that this year our business is not on growth mode.
Right.
So technically someone could say like, oh, that's not level up, right? And a lot of it has to do with, like a really serious discussion I've had with myself, because a lot of times having that mentality, it could be a double-edged sword, because if you were so focus on getting to the next level, and you take that away, it's like it became like a habit, right? And then now, next thing you know, it changed. One of the I've heard this. My dad said this, that the easiest way to get a bone out of a dog's mouth is actually to replace it with something else.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a struggle or a fight, right? If you just remove it and not give the dog anything else. So it's like replacing it. So one of the things that I have, decided on my, like our career or business this year was, okay, let's not gonna be on a growth mode this year, revenue-wise. But what if we do a different project? So this year we've been a lot more, active with social media, with marketing and partnerships as far as creating videos. So that has been like my level up this year. And also, too, one of the things that I've said, I just turned 33 this year, and I said 33 will be my best version of myself health-wise. Because we did sacrifice it for the sole purpose of leveling up in the business. So I guess one of the things that you have to think, because you don't see a level up in a person's life in one aspect, doesn't mean they're not leveling up. Maybe they're leveling up on a different aspect where you don't see it, or you don't appreciate that side, right? Like maybe picking up a different hobby, like what Anna said, like maybe you're not musically inclined, so all of a sudden you think like, wait, Anna's not on a level up mindset. But for her, she's musically inclined. That's definitely a level up for her. So that's kind of like the mentality, I guess, of don't. I mean, I would say like you have to keep continually leveling up, but that doesn't mean on one aspect in life.
Right. It's not completely linear. And
Yep.
also like some of your priorities like that I have seen this year that you've been living out this year are, building community, connecting with people, and also like teaching, educating, helping other people. And I feel like on some level, no pun intended, you have to be content with where you are in order to reach out, right? I know for me, like when I am in growth mode, I've got my blinders on. That's why I lived under a rock all of that time and didn't engage a lot with community, because maybe I did have something to share, but I was focused on leveling up, right? I was focused on growing my business. And there definitely is a world in which you can balance that and you can do some of both. But like, that's been something different for me this year too, that, I have allowed myself to basically take a year off of growth mode also. And, I haven't leveled up my business this year by any stretch, but I've been content with it is what it is. And I'm making a plan to kind of pick back up with that next year, but hopefully in a more balanced way, to be honest, because now that I've sort of, grew straight up and like consistently year over year, like this year I've had the chance to kind of more branch out and not just be like straight up higher and higher, but like also branch out. And I really value both of those things, like both kinds of growth. And so I think, what I'm hearing you say is that all counts. And I do think there's a case to be made for contentment, right? Because like you were saying, like you can just get basically addicted to to making progress or making more money or working harder all the time and becoming the best, and it's not worth it to get there and then find emptiness
Lose out
at
on
the
everything
top.
else. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
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 I want to discuss a little bit more of like when I met Glenn, I just saw him as this guy has the potential of leveling up right now. Like even to a point like I was like asking him how much
He
money
had
you
a
have in
big
your bank.
arrow right over the top of his head. Just level up, Glenn.
I remember this conversation. I don't know what I ate, but for some reason I was just like
chocolate.
Huh?
It was totally chocolate. Thank you.
It's like a little bit. Yeah, it was like a little bit good that day, something like that. Or I had a little bit more. I said, "Yo, how much money do you have in your bank account?" I literally said that to Glenn, and
Glenn,
because
how did you
I
answer
don't
that,
even
man?
remember what I said.
no, he told me the number. He told me
Yeah.
the number, and I was like, "Yo, you can't have that sitting on your bank account. You gotta invest that in product." And I just went on like, "What about you do this? You invest it in this, invest it in that," and I feel like I was just like, "Man, this guy's got everything going for him. He just needs more fuel to the fire."
Yeah.
And he just started making plays. We started making plays. At that moment, I had way less capital. I would buy 10 pairs. Glenn would buy 100. And then we were just folding that. Next time, he would buy 200. Then I would buy 50. And he was just folding that. And I was just like, man, I was like in the back, like, man, this guy's leveling up. Up to a point of like, I think his business growth, to be honest, has been very consistently linear. I mean, he's not super energetic, of a personality of like jumping from one place to another, but he's been super consistent on his level up. So how has that? I mean, like, walk us through. Like, we haven't even discussed this, but I've just seen it happen over time.
Well, I mean, there's like so much to discuss from like Anna's point of view from like the addiction part. So which we'll get into that after this statement,
Okay.
I guess. With, the growing part I think was just like you said too. It just came down to being consistent. But I looked at it also from like a working out standpoint too. So like me and the wife, we used to go to like Planet Fitness to work out. And I remember too going and I'm like, number one, I'm not getting any results out of this. Number two, I feel like I'm kind of bored doing like the same things over and over. And I'm like, if I really want to see a difference and or level up, then I got to do something completely different. That's like not out of,
Yeah.
not in this norm.
Push you out of your comfort
Exactly.
zone.
And so that's when we started doing like a kickboxing thing, and we started going every day, and the results started to really show up. And so then I started to realize, um, how do you do this like in your life to where, yeah,
Sustainable.
like it's,
Yeah.
but I feel like it never ends, and that's how I feel like the business part of it is as well. It's like you can eat all you want and you can work out all you want, but until you stop one or the other, it's just gonna like something's gonna take over the other part. So that's how it is with the business part too. You have to keep it consistent or things are not gonna continually grow or even stay steady. I mean, and I wish you could eat whatever you want, never have to work out, you never get any sort of sickness or illness, and life is just great. But that's not the way it works, and unfortunately, we have to constantly work at it, and it is like it does take its toll on you physically and mentally in any capacity you're in, because it doesn't end until you, I guess, put your foot down and you're like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. And I don't know how you guys feel maybe on the, like, let's say for the workout standpoint, that's just for like your own health. But I see it every time, even when we go sourcing, right? Like you see people that are in bad shape, and sometimes you think to yourself, like, how did they get into this shape? Is it from maybe other things that they have gone through in life? Or is it from maybe like eating bad and not working out? And now it's like trouble walking or trouble doing everyday things. And
it's like
yeah, and
spiraled,
so you're kind of like, man, do I have to constantly, like work out and be consistent with this every single day in order to feel great or feel healthy or be at the, I don't know, whatever you're supposed to be at for your height and weight and age,
Right.
and and I don't know, there's not really an answer for that, because you can have the most healthiest people and they could pass away, and then you can have people that are
Right.
extremely unhealthy and they pass away, or they live longer.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
But what kind of time and effort are you putting into, let's say, that, into your business, into family and relationships, and you don't have time for everything. But I feel like that's where it leads to me, to where I'm like, I try to make time for everything, and at one point, is it gonna like self implode? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's really good parallels there, and both of those things, like working out and running your business, are both like realities in your life every day, every week, and very much so day in, day out, right? And yeah, I think that's a good question. Like when we just kind of look into the hypothetical future and just see this like cycle, we're like, wow, okay, so is that it? Like, I mean, that's totally, I feel like a totally human like perspective to have about it. But and then on the other hand, like you're right, it's like maintenance and consistency really do make the magic happen in both of those arenas. So like what happens if you change it, or is it healthy to change it? How can you do that in a healthy way? How can you balance all of that stuff? And I think two things I just feel like saying that are just relevant to this whole area that we're talking about. One is that a lot of people feel like, or a lot of people quit when they should really just take a break. And, we will push ourselves to the point of being like, I just can't do this anymore, or something has to give and we have to make this big drastic change. When in reality, if we just took an honest to God intentional break, we would probably have a lot more perspective, get to rest, and come back fresh and like actually re-engaged with whatever it is we're feeling burnt out on. So that's one thing. If you feel like quitting, consider taking a break instead and then evaluate after that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because me and Glenn have polar opposites of take on that, because
Yeah.
I'm very just 100 all out 1,000%.
Yeah.
But even last year or even the year before, man, I actually found myself in Florida at the beach way more often.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
yeah, I would literally just fly to Florida for like an overnight trip or 2 night trip
Yeah.
because it was just because I just hit it too hard
Just
and
needed
I
a
would
break.
just break it too hard. But
Yeah.
it was just I felt like I was a car that was going, like pedal to the metal, and then next thing you know, run out of gas.
Yeah.
And then I would walk to get gas and then put gas in and then pedal to the metal again and run out of gas.
That's a great illustration.
That was kind of like my
Yeah.
20 post COVID till 2022
Yeah.
before this year before it was that I was like Glenn's like, where are you at now? I'm like, yeah, I'm in Florida. Like, where are you at now? I'm at the beach. Where are you at now? It's either that or like I'm just going after things.
Yeah.
And I guess it's more of like knowing yourself. So Glenn, how do you do that? Like, how do you curb burnout, or how do you take break, or what do you do? I mean, the last thing I know, I didn't even know when this guy took
I
his
haven't
vacation.
taken
I don't know.
any
Yeah.
sort of
He hasn't taken a
really
vacation.
vacation in a very, very long time, and I don't even know when or if the next one will be. And I don't feel burnt out, and I feel like I don't know if this is. I can't see myself like not doing like the days that I don't
Yeah.
work out, I feel weird. The days that
Yeah.
if I didn't do anything with my eBay store, I would feel weird. Like if I didn't ship something, if I didn't list something, and I don't know if that's a good or bad problem to have, but that makes me feel really weird. And then I know you're talking about like the burnout part, or to where just take a break if you really want to quit. But maybe
Yeah.
me knowing the difference between how I feel now compared to how I felt when I had a full-time job that I didn't want
Yeah.
are two
100%.
totally, completely different feelings.
I think you're onto something with that, because I was just gonna say, like, it's not necessarily even a problem if you're like, I have a life I don't want to take a vacation from.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's true.
That's not a problem.
That's true.
But that is exactly what I was gonna say, was like the second thing I kind of wanted to say just right out the gate about all of this, which is, if you are not excited about what's going on in your life, or if you are feeling burnt out, or whatever, even if you're feeling okay but you just want to like reflect and evaluate how you're spending your days, like, or like, should I work out today or not? Should I fall off the wagon, quote unquote, right? Or like try something different or whatever. Like, well, what are your values? I mean, if what you're doing is aligned with what you care the most about and you value the most, what you actually value the most, not what you think you should or what you've been told you should or what you think, would be the best for you, like, taking your medicine and eating your vegetables because that's what you grew up hearing or whatever. Like, what you actually personally value the most, if those main things that you're doing are aligned with that, then you're probably not going to have you're going to have a very high threshold for burnout, really, right? There's not a high chance that you're going to find yourself just like whiplashing back and forth or like lamenting about your situation or feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I mean, all of those kind of thoughts and frustrations are like totally normal, but those are like flags, right? Those
Yeah.
are the check engine lights, right? Like Ken maybe loved what he was doing, but maybe he was going a little too hard at it sometimes. He was having trouble finding balance. So he found balance with extremes. He balanced one extreme with the other, and Glenn, you're more of like that middle of the road, like slow and steady wins the race kind of pace of things, but like it's really lined up with your values, and you have learned that from having a lifestyle and a job where it was not lining up, and what that feels like.
Yeah, and I was gonna throw in to where because when people go on vacations, sometimes I feel like, what are you trying to get away from? Is it because you don't like what you do, so you need a break? And maybe I feel like I'm kind of going hard on that part, maybe on certain people that I might feel like that way. Now with Ken, I don't feel that way because I know that him and JC love what they're doing, but they did go too hard in the paint, that they need to take that break to like really
Like they're just physically
exactly. So
exhausted.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
I need to take that
Yeah.
this break because when I jump back
Yeah.
into it, oh, it's Q4 time. Oh, it's this time. Oh, we gotta redo this whole part for the basement to get this inventory correct. Now, if I was taking a vacation with my old job, then that was like, yeah, because I want a week off. I want to get away from this. I'm tired of this. I don't like what I do. I need to get out of here. And that was like that's a huge difference than I think what we talked about, I guess, with the vacation part. So that's kind of like where I wanted to kind of compare it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I think it has something to do with, I guess, your long-term perspective, because I think knowing yourself, right? Like once you're aware of knowing what you truly want, what are the, like what Anna said, the values, or what are your priorities as a person, or as a husband and wife, or as a team. If you have that, a long-term perspective of what you're trying to do, I don't think, I mean, at the end of the day, anything in the middle really don't. It matters, but it don't, because you know you're going north 500 miles up. So whether I run the first 100 miles, take a break, like, because like I think we always see the turtle and the hare kind of mentality.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you gotta go slow and steady, or one or the other. Oh, I'll get there fast. But I think it could be both, or you could find find. I'm a hare. Like, I mean, it's like I'm a bee, right? Like I feel like because if I would take on somebody's role, or like swap habits, then that would crush me, right? Then because
that's not
because
you.
It's not you, right? It's like put Glen on a flight to the beach tomorrow. He doesn't even like the beach, so he'll be miserable. So it's really going back to like, okay, find out your North Star, your long-term vision, and adapt a way to get there. Whether you're driving, or you're flying and paying more for airfare, or you're casually, riding your motorcycle and enjoying the ride. I think it's you're gonna get there. And I think one of the things that I like about business is it's an infinite game. It's not like a football game that, okay, you only got X amount of minutes. It's not that. It's like either I can fulfill this, or the successor can fulfill this, or I could fulfill it tomorrow. But the thing is, like, if I fulfill it tomorrow, what am I gonna do next? So I think it's like, be the turtle if you want to be the turtle. Be the hare if you want to be the hare. As long as it's your own truth. Discovering your own truth, I think that's a big thing.
Well, and the turtle, I love that you brought that example up, because in a way, I mean, obviously that's like a fable that like has its own point to make, right? Slow and steady wins the race, right? However, for our application to life, that sets up a really false dichotomy that it's a race and that one of them has to win.
To win. It's not a race.
If you look at the pictures and don't read the words, what you see is that they both get there. And that is the story of Ken and Glen, right? Like, I mean, y'all both get there. You get there the way that makes sense for you. And that's honestly something I love about like selling stuff on eBay for a living. Like, that's like literally what I do. And it's so flexible, and it allows me to do it in a way that works for me. And that's how I know that, this as a business / lifestyle is something that can work for everybody, depending on what they need and depending on what makes sense for them. So like, but like, that's the beauty of it. Like, you get to tailor it to that. And, something else, Ken, like what you were just saying reminds me of another one of my favorite, like, little kind of mindset things that I love to talk about, which is that if you're struggling with something, like maybe you are struggling to find balance, or, curb burnout, or just kind of like figure out what you want to do, or what should I do? How should I structure my day today? What are the most important things, or whatever. Sometimes it's helpful to zoom in to the to the question or the problem and kind of get really like on a in the moment level with it, like, well, okay, today, like if you're deciding about a workout or something, right? Like, how is doing that gonna serve me today? And like, how does that fit in or not fit in today, in like the moment? Or if you're like having a more existential question about it, you know, gosh, am I going to do this forever? Like, is this just my life from here until I die? Like, I just do the same thing every day. Maybe you need to zoom out and look at the big picture, you know, and figure out, or you can even use that to calibrate yourself, like with the perspective, like you said, Ken, maybe you're going to run the first 100 miles and then mosey the last 400 miles. And it's like, if you know, okay, with a business, for me, that's like, I'm looking over my whole year. You know, I'm on track to hit my goal for revenue for the year or whatever. So yeah, I can go on a vacation and I can fully enjoy that vacation and know that I'm not behind. If you don't have a goal, you will never know if you're behind or ahead or where you are. So if you can get a context for yourself that's a bigger picture, sometimes that's what it takes, is zooming out of the question. You know, am I behind? Can I take this vacation? Can I do this thing? Can I take this little detour? Can I take this little risk and do this little experiment in my business? Sometimes zooming out is what you need to do. So that's a great question to be able to ask yourself when you're leveling up or when you're enjoying a moment of contentment in the sun is, you know, if you're wrestling with anything, do I need to zoom in about this or do I need to zoom out about it? And sometimes I feel like 99% of the time you find the angle you're looking for if you do one of those two things.
I think a lot of people don't really understand maybe the opposites of how me and Ken operate sometimes. Because there's times to where, like, I remember, I mean, there was a time, maybe I would probably say like 5 years ago, where like Ken was just like, when he was super dedicated to the gym, he did like he did with the business, to where he was just all in, and he just looks different. He was just like, you know, all in on the gym part and just going in and everything like that. And when it switched,
he's the
to
hustle
where,
bee, not the shuffle bee.
Exactly. But when it shifted to, hey, there's this new platform on here where it's live online selling, and then he shifted all of that into that platform, and then grew that and had so many people on here that were watching him, and it's like he went all in on that. It's just like all in on whatever that is. And there's times where it'll be like, you know, I'd call him and he's taking a nap. And then on me, I'm like, nap? Like, I never nap during the day.
You're like, I have no need for naps.
Exactly. But he's shipping, him and JC are shipping at 2 or 3 a.m. And I'm like, I don't ship at 2 or 3 a.m. Like, I don't have that in me.
Yeah.
And so there's different like business and time and different practices, I guess, that goes into play, that there's none that's right or wrong. But that's what, like, how, man, him and JC could like just straight up get so many listings and shipments done at, you know, 3, 4, 5 a.m. I'm like, man, that is wild. But they have a different balance.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And they also have each other to hold each other accountable. Like, are we going too far with this right now? Because, you know, just like anything, like I kind of mentioned this in a different context earlier, but with almost anything that we can get ourselves involved in as humans, right? There's two ends of the spectrum that are not helpful. And so it's like, you can definitely focus too hard too much to the exclusion of other things, and like you'll probably collapse at some point. Right. Or you can also spread yourself too thin, and you know, if you only do a teaspoon of all of these important things every day, you never get anywhere. So like, you really, I mean, in between there is the wild west of finding how things fit into your own life.
Right. And I think, you know, kind of like, you know, winding this whole topic down, is a lot of it is like, yes, I believe you can level up in all aspects in your life. Business, relationships, spirituality, finances, you know, even goals and everything like that, because there has been so many documented story about superhuman abilities. But at some point, like, okay, then it was superhuman, now it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's just like boundaries being broken, you know, goals being shattered, just getting to the next level is possibly in it. I mean, it's been documented in time. Now we have internet. Like, that's crazy. You know, 50 years ago, or even like having DSL internet to now 5G network. But one of the things that I want to point out is like, yes, there are multiple opportunities to level up, but I think you can level up, but one of the things that I found out, you cannot level up all at the same time. Because it's not level up. You'll run out of steam. You'll run out of time. You'll run out of gas. And I think that's, learning from each other. That's one of the things that Glen has done so well, is he's majored in the major stuff. Keeping the main things the main thing. Yeah. And he's done it so well over time. And when he says like, when is it enough? When is it okay? And my question is, success, success is rent is due daily. Yeah. Being great costs something. I don't think there is a time that you can cruise control greatness. You got to have a level up mentality, because if you're not going up, you're being stagnant or something's going down. So if you're up to it, if you're up to the challenge of actually living a meaningful life, a more impactful life, doing something that you have never done before, your family has never done before, or just something that, that was meant to be broken, if that was you, if you choose yourself that would be you, it's going to cost. It's going to cost something. And we're not here to tell you, like, okay, there is a fine line of like, maybe at some point, it's free. It's not free. I believe it will always cost something. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're okay with it, as long as in your terms it's worth it, then have at it. I think that's my take on that.
I mean, I think that's I don't know how else to go from there. I was gonna finish off with just asking anybody that's listening to this podcast, what excites you in your life right now? Yeah. Maybe they can answer that question in maybe we should get like a post or something. We need to get some answers and see what
we need some
see what excites them in their life.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anna?
Well, I feel like I have a much better handle on the level up mindset, but thanks so much, guys, for sharing about that. I think this is kind of the more esoteric like stuff, but it applies to us. We're people first and business owners second, and it applies to both. So thanks so much for showing us around the place. Level up mindset.
For sure. And I've always believed it, to become a better business person, you gotta become a better person. So level up your mindset and keep figuring out yourself, keep crushing it, achieve all your goals, and at the end of the day, it's just a matter of time you'll get there. But make sure to ask yourself that, what am I leveling up today, or what am I trying to level up? So that is a wrap for episode 4. We talk about level up mentality. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode, and that is it. See you all later. My name is Ken.
I'm Anna.
Glen. See ya.
Seller Club Podcast. See you next episode.